Welcome back to another episode of Vitality Vaults with Vitality Ventures Group. Today we're joined by Ana Delgado. She is a founding force in the medspa industry as an entrepreneur. Between public speaking, events, leadership, she's CEO and founder of DentaSpa and IAFA, the International Academy of Facial Aesthetics, plus a ton more. Stay tuned to hear from Ana herself. Empowered women, empower women. Take it away, Shannon.
With Ana Delgado, and you're going to have to tell me, Ana, because there are so many things that you do. And I was looking you up and I was looking at your training and then the IAFA, is that correct?
Yeah, IFA. We just had our annual symposium. First and foremost, Shannon, thank you for having me here on this podcast. I'm very excited to share and hopefully inspire.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So how was your event? We were just talking about it, and it's so much work.
It is.
And,
It is.
and it's
The team and I were working for so many weeks. I mean, this is something we prepare for all year, but obviously I would say the couple months leading up to it are just bananas, right? We're trying to get so much done. There's attendees, there's sponsors, there's faculty, there's workshops, there's onstage demos, there's lectures. I mean, there's so many aspects. And then of course there's the fun aspect because, people come
sure.
down and they don't want to just learn, they want to have fun. So there were so many aspects to making this successful. And I'm so grateful that I have such an incredible team because without them, I couldn't do this, right? And not only the staff, but the support staff that we got on just to make this a seamless event. And also the faculty. I'm so blessed to have such an incredible group of professionals in so many backgrounds that contribute to making this such a successful event. It really was just stellar.
I think people, I mean, everybody wants to do event. I don't know. Everybody wants to do events. Everybody wants to do events, but what you said, the team, I don't think people realize because they see people like you or they see, leaders in the industry and they see that person. I don't think they realize there's so many people behind you.
Absolutely.
How do you get those people?
Well, part of it is being a good leader, right? I think that, I'm always looking at myself in criticism as to how I can grow and be better. And I definitely know where my faults are, and I definitely know where my strengths are. And I think that I've been fortunate to have 15 years now where I get to play the role of a leader with my own companies. And I hope I get better at it every year. But I think that it's, something to say I must be doing something right because I do have people that have been with me for a very long time, not just in the team, but faculty. They stick around and they stick around for a purpose. And sometimes I don't give myself enough credit, to be honest. I'm always like, how could I have done this better? But when you receive massive amounts of texts and DMs and emails with such gratitude and complimenting the leadership and complimenting me gives me, it inspires me to keep growing and it inspires me to do what I do. And it's what makes it all worth it. All the, little bit of sleep I've had in the last few weeks.
Are you a fan of Simon Sinek?
Say it again.
Simon Sinek. Do you
Yes.
know who that is? Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I saw him, I think he was being interviewed. It was probably on Instagram or something like that. And he was talking about, because everything he does is leadership, right? And empathy and all that kind of stuff. And it was a big event. And he was talking to someone, he was saying 90% of the people who come up to him and say, I get it, yes, are really in his vibe are women. And he says, when men come up, it's like they want this, and they don't, you know what I mean? And they don't get how leadership is such an, difficult. And I don't know if people are born that way, they learn that way. I have my thoughts on that. But how the empathy and all of that caring is such a big piece of it.
Empathy is huge. Patience is big. I think they're naturally, I don't like to speak for, I definitely believe in male and female roles. And I do believe, some of these, some of what I'm going to say doesn't necessarily relate to all men and women, but I would say that in general, women do have a better ability for multitasking. They have a better ability to to be empathetic to the people that they're working with. This just comes natural, more natural for a woman. Not to say that I haven't met men that flourish and are amazing at this more than some women that I've met, but I would say in general, I would say that I too can agree that I've seen women be able to play the leadership role in a different way, and they bring something else to the table, which is, I've met some of the smartest men ever, and they're leaders and they're very successful in what they do and they're respected. But something about the multitasking, they are very much, they have to do one thing and finish it and they do it beautifully, but that's it, right? Women have this incredible ability to be doing like 10 things at the same time. I don't know if it's just because we are, nature gave us the ability to be mothers, and because of that,
Well, right. We have our children, we have
yeah.
household, and I mean, and I don't, even if you have the most like hands-on guy at home or whatever, there's something in us that makes us doing that.
Yeah, we could be thinking about 5 things at the same time, and not like not complete them. Like we actually can multitask successfully, right? Because there's multitaskers.
Well, there's a lot of people who would say there's no such thing. I do believe there's such a thing.
Oh, I couldn't have done this meeting had I not been able to be, a multitasker. I mean, I still have my 6-year-old who depends on me, and she has a social calendar bigger than I've ever had. And just in school and this and that. So yeah, you really have to give attention to so many different aspects. And yet, even alone with all the other aspects out of my life, like alone just in the role that I had for the IFA and having to, of course, like I said, rely on my team to lead different things, because I really see such amazing skills that they bring to the table. It took me a long time to delegate. That was one of my faults that I said that I believe kept me from growing at one point in my leadership time. And I had to learn how to really just let go and let people shine and let people and trust, right? And trust that they're going to do it.
Right. So and that is such a hard, it's like this mountain to climb over, because as entrepreneurs, which you're an entrepreneur, I know you're a doctor, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I just employ.
But you're an entrepreneur and you have, I mean, all these things going on, but you started out and it's you, and then you build it, and then letting that go and allowing people to do it and not
children or more, 3, 4, right? Because I have different entities, but I always like to say that's also my child, because you get so, whenever it's something that you've put all yourself into, it's harder to let go, right? It's one thing to work for a company and then come into a managerial role and have to delegate. It's not your company, but when it's yours, your baby, and you only want the best for it, it's kind of like telling a mom, like, you're going to have to entrust this babysitter for a day or for longer than a day, right? Like for the role, this is the role. And so the same, a good mom would take a lot of interviewing to hire a nanny, hire a babysitter, hire someone of help. And that's kind of what I see it look like when it comes to employing these people, is that it takes people that I can really trust and know that they're going to get the job done, right?
So how do you do that though? Because we're talking scale. The only way to scale, the only way to grow, right, is to bring other people in. Right. And I have met so many medspa owners, people like that, who just can't seem, because you get so emotionally attached to what you've built, because nobody sees you at home stress out, waking at 4 o'clock in the morning going, oh, I have an idea, I'm gonna, grinding and failing, because we do fail. Nobody sees all of that. They just see
they just see
what we put out there.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right, you're absolutely right. I think it's it's something that you kind of grow to like I said, I've only gotten better at this through the years, right? Like it's not something that happened overnight. I've had definitely times where I had to take a step back and really see what's going on here. And it hasn't always been, luckily for me, I've never had any bad apples per se, but I've had some setbacks with throughout the 15 years with people that didn't turn out to be who I thought they were, and or didn't appreciate.
And do you get your feelings hurt? I get my feelings hurt. I shouldn't say that. I get like,
I
oh,
do, but I don't. I have this, and this is a trait that I think a lot of men carry. When it comes to business, I have the ability to separate my emotions from what it is. And maybe, this is obviously not as easy to do in personal life, significant other, your child, like you really get like intertwined into it. So even though I'm very emotionally connected to my company and I love it, I when it comes to the employees of the company and the people that work for me, I respect them, as a lot of them have become my friends and all that, but I don't let the professionalism, I let the professionalism stay intact, where I can separate my personal feelings about things, and also my ability that has grown in being able to like step back and understand why people do what they do. I always like to tell people, my best advice that I've grown to learn is, if you make things not about you, if you can just take a person's actions and what they do in that moment that maybe you didn't like, and just try to understand where they're at, try to understand why they behave that way, and try to make it not about you. I think the biggest thing that we do a lot of the times in our personal and professional life is we take things to heart like it's about us, when in reality, these people, just like all of us, we all deal with things. We all have a bad day.
right.
We all have somebody pass away. We all have, somebody ill. We all have all of these things that happen tragically in life, and we never know, right? And so if we can give ourselves that moment to not make it about us, and to give the benefit of the doubt, I think we're able to be better for them, but we're also being able to be better for us, because now we're not frustrated and hurt and thinking that, we're being attacked or being done wrong, or being, that kind of,
Right.
so yeah.
So do you think this is is this a skill that you developed? Do you think you had the basis there? Because I think, as a leader, you mentioned the empathy. So you're giving so much and caring so much, and you need to, and then it's hard to, I mean, that's a balance.
Yeah, I think, I've asked myself that question. I'm like, are these traits that you're born with? And I think part of it is, but I think part of it is also life experiences, right? So where your life journey took you and what you had to be for others to be able to be who you are. And I think that we all go through different journeys, and depending on that journey, you're kind of molded in a certain way. And I certainly was molded in a way where, I felt like I needed to protect. I felt like I needed to grow my family. Like, I had this vision that I wanted to be a certain person for my family, who sacrificed, who drove me 45 minutes to a better school every day, my dad, and for my grandmother, for my mother, for all these people that were so giving, to me. I felt it was my mission to do it for them. And again, nobody's family is perfect. Definitely mine wasn't, and none of ours are. If anybody thinks they have a perfect family, then I don't know.
Oh, I know,
So,
right?
and that's okay, right? But I had to learn, in order to be who I wanted to be in this life for them, I had to take a step back and realize, and not fault them for what they didn't do. I had to look at what they did do. And so that attitude is what's kept me growing in every department of my life, including
That's
my
wonderful.
relationships. Yeah.
It's, I think I heard someone say, it's accept your parents as who they are, not who you want them to be. Right. And then it's much easier,
Right.
and where'd you grow up?
I actually was born in Lima, and I came at the age of 5.
In
So
Peru.
I came to the United
Oh,
States
wow.
from the age of 5. I started first grade here. My parents made the decision to leave because, now Peru's grown and in a much better place. But back then, it was at the time where there was a lot of internal terrorism, and I was 5, and my brother had just been born. Uh, he's 4 years younger, so he was a year old, and my family was like, my dad especially, he was like, we're not doing this. Like, this is dangerous. So he found a way, did what he did, left everything he knew, and came to the United States. And so, again, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of changes for our family. And I was the oldest, and I felt like I needed to step ahead and be
Do you
there.
remember the move? I don't remember
I
anything
don't
from when I
remember.
was 5.
No, I don't. I don't remember the move. I
Mhm.
do remember being 6 and 7 when you start to kind of, I think that's the age when we start really remembering things. I do remember not knowing how to speak English, and it was very, very difficult for me. And I had a tutor um, that my dad got me to help me. And, obviously at that age, we soak it up and we were able to learn really quickly. But it was scary for me, to like go
Yeah.
from Spanish only to like, oh, now you're in an English speaking school. So that's my first recollection of memories coming into the United States.
But that must have, I mean, that's the beginning of developing resilience, the beginning of learning to pivot.
Survival, yeah.
Right, survival and learn like, okay, everything I knew or the way it was, now I have to adjust. And I mean, it happens in business
All
constantly,
the time,
right?
all the time.
Where we
All,
have our path and then we're like, this is what I'm
don't go
doing, this
nowhere.
is where I'm going. And you have to, sometimes you're just going off the road and
That's
that's
true.
okay. So
Got it.
when you started, you mentioned 15 years ago, was this always your plan where you are now, or have you just completely?
No, I think the overall vision, yes, the overall vision was to create this community and to do something more elevated in terms of education. But the vision has changed and molded throughout the time. I've had to be flexible with what's coming at me and realizing when I really believe in manifestation. I feel like I've been able to manifest a lot of the things that have come into my life, both personally and professionally. And I think that there comes a point where you have to be able to pivot, like you said. You have to be able to say, you know what, maybe that wasn't the calling, maybe it's this, and let me grow with that. But yeah, overall, as you know, the companies, I first started a marketing company, which turned into my consulting company, and that was already set for supporting an aesthetic academy, one of the first in the country for dentists on injectables. And then from there, I launched my own, and that supporting academy maintained itself. And I created in 2015 a medical academy out of that, which now is still a medical academy, still a consulting academy, and DentaSpa, which launched in 2010, is still a dental academy. And so the supporting academy came from the vision of having something that kind of was bigger than these academies in the sense of support, community, and it was more of a multi-specialty type of academy support. I started seeing, I was doing something right because I was gravitating, getting some of the top people in the country and in the world. Some would fly in from different places to be part of this. And every year it just grew and grew. And, so this year was the 12th annual of the IFA. The very first company I launched was CosMedic in 2008. And then in 2010, I did DentaSpa. 2011 came the IFA. So,
And all those are still going.
yeah.
Was there like a tipping point where you're like, oh, now it hit? Because I coach as well, women start on up entrepreneurs. So they're just starting. And I always say to them, you're gonna work, you're gonna make no money for probably at least 2 years. You have to just keep going. You have
Yeah,
to keep going.
yeah, they say 2 to 3 years is the mark. So I got a little lucky in the sense that I did pay those 2 to 3 years off to another company that I was head on, that I was at the core of. So what happened was in 2006, when I was working for an advertising agency doing PR and advertising, is my only 1 year that I've ever worked for a company. I was approached by a visionary dentist who had had this amazing idea to create a dental academy. He saw where it was going. He saw what was happening in Europe and in other places where things are a little more advanced with aesthetics. And he wanted to launch an academy, and he was an amazing clinician in terms of like an artist type, but he didn't have really the business acumen, and he knew that I had that. So we came together, him and I, and a website marketing person. It was just the three of us. And for 3.5 years, I worked with him. So that's where I paid the grind, right? That's the grind. Eventually we broke off. We had different visions. He wanted to be a one-man show, and he wanted to be the ego. And at that point, I had already met so many incredible women, especially women who were just masters of injections, nurse practitioners, nurses, PAs, and some MDs. And I didn't want to discard them. I felt like they were, because for me, it's never been about me. It's been about presenting, these academies a lot of the times are run by one egotistical doctor. And the way that and the way you make this flourish is to not have it be about one person, because it's not. They all bring such amazing things to the table. And so as I started collecting these contacts, and when my vision didn't align anymore with him, I launched DentaSpa in 2010 and brought all these professionals. And from there, we've just kept growing. And I think now we have 20 trainers for DentaSpa and a lot more faculty than that for IFA, and CosMedic itself has a good amount of medical professionals that work for it as well. So it's been an amazing journey in getting to kind of grow this and have such amazing women and men. But the majority are women, I will say.
Yep. Well, and there's what you said in the beginning, there were three of you. There were marketing, you're the business, and the doctor. And I mean, I think at least in the med spa and the aesthetics industry, a lot of doctors, injectors, and people like that don't understand having a business person is vital for growth, because we think differently, we do things differently.
And also time. You can't be, I'm not going to say there isn't, because there are amazing clinicians that are also the business. They're just not often found, but there are people like that. But for the most part, in order to be a really good clinician and dedicate yourself to that trait, you do have to have business support. You do have to have the right marketing team on board. And those are some of the most successful practices I see have that visionary business mind that is kind of leading that.
And realize they do what they do. Let someone who does what they do all day, every day, who lives it, business-wise, marketing, whatever, do what they do, because it's always changing, especially now with AI. I mean, things are changing every day. I love it. I think it's exciting, but then again, that's the world I'm living in every day.
Absolutely.
So how do you handle stress? That's a lot. I'm exhausted just listening to you. So because it sounds all beautiful. I know it wasn't beautiful. It's a rocky road being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's constantly a rocky road.
A lot of pressure. It is. There's better times than others. But I think that I've come to a good place now where I manage, like this summer I was a wreck. Things were really slow I was having probably one of the slowest years in 15 years. And I had to collect myself. I really did. I was going through a very stressful time. And I didn't feel myself. I felt like very out of center. I felt like I had lost my sense of self, my leader abilities, and that happens to us, and I turned to somebody that I really trust, and she was like, I hope you realize every CEO goes through this, and every CEO sometimes just needs to shut their phone. Like you're like a phone and you're officially full, and you need to just turn it off and start taking things off the plate. And start, because you're not going to be able to think in a visionary and a leadership way if you don't realize that you have to just put a stop to going 100 miles per hour, because a lot of CEOs, we're always going 100 miles per hour, and we need to learn. The biggest thing is learning how to stop. And so I took the time to, I stopped working too much. I gave myself more present moments. I stayed off the phone more. I did what I had to do. And eventually, you come back around and you realize, wait a second, okay, I got this, right? And so now we are, as of, I would say that those 2 summer months were like maybe May and June, and then July and August was when everything started just flourishing again. And now we're in a good place again. So, things are like this, like you said, you have to ride the wave, and sometimes you do it more gracefully than others. But, I really, you learn from these experiences. And the one thing I will say though, is that every time I had a setback or a time of high stress um, where I felt on the floor, where I felt defeated, the one good thing about these moments is that when you come out of them, you come out so strong,
Yeah.
stronger, right? And so you have to remember that when you're in it, you're like, okay, last time I was here, I came out stronger, I came out better. And so everything happens for a reason. And
And
so
those are tough moments. I mean, and we go through them, and you go, oh, screw this. I don't want to, you're like,
yeah,
oh,
you almost don't want you're like,
you're like, I'm done. I'm done.
yeah, the very thing you worked for, you're like,
Mhm.
I can't do it anymore. Like you
Like,
get
why
to,
am I doing this? Why am I killing myself? What is the point? Nobody, you know what I mean? You go through the whole thing. So now you have a daughter.
Mhm.
Um, how do you manage that? Do you work at home on the weekends? You turn your phone off? Do you like,
No, I don't work. I mean, I'm 15 years in now, so I can't
so
say
you
that
can,
I didn't. I definitely worked on the weekends in the first few years, and there's definitely times like like this annual event is probably one of the biggest things we do. So yeah, was I working through the weekend? Absolutely. And I
right?
said, baby, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to do all the things we usually do, but mommy has to work. And we're going to take such an amazing vacation coming up here in the winter. And she gets it. She loves it. She loves mommy as an entrepreneur. I think it's important. Communication is big. I talk to my daughter about everything. She understands that she's never being neglected. And I do enough with her where she really feels the attention. It's just sometimes that does kind of have to go into a weekend, and typically it doesn't. But like I said, preparing for this event was massive, and I couldn't get it all done on the week. So I had the last couple weekends, I would say I was very
So
busy.
you talk to her about it. So you
Oh,
have those I think that's great.
yeah, she has to know that I'm not just there like hanging out, like not
Mhm.
ignoring her. She has to know that I'm working and that I'm doing something to better our lives. And I think she gets it.
That that's good. And she's not like my son. Now he's older. He's like, I don't want to hear about any of your work. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get it. You're 17. He's 17, so it doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're in a very selfish mode at
So
17. I
she
remember.
there's no you feel like communicating with your child or and people who are listening who have children separates them out because I know I talk to us other entrepreneurs or CEOs and they're like, sometimes you have the kids who are jealous. You're like, you're not paying attention to me. They don't
She
want
doesn't
that.
ever, she doesn't ever get jealous with the work stuff. She'll get jealous more like if she's all about her attention. We know all kids are, especially at this age. And so she'll get like that with like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we were watching Billy Wonka, the movie with who's her dad and I and her. And I was having a conversation about something about my event or sharing something with her dad. And she looks over and she's like, I want attention. So she gets more like that with like moments where, she wants to be the center of attention. If my,
Well, that's
my,
good. She can communicate it. And she's
yeah.
like, this is what I
So,
need right now.
yeah. And then we joke with her like, baby, you are literally the center of all of our world. Like we're just having a quick
Right,
conversation,
right.
not paying attention to you. And so she does that with my mom too. So she'll get like that with like people, but never about work. She fully understands that her mom supports this family. And I think she really is proud of that. I think the way I hear her talk, sometimes I sneak in and I'm like looking at her in her room, like, what are you doing? And I see the way she expresses herself and she wants to be just like mommy. She tells everyone like, every kid's like, oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be an astronaut. But she's like, I want to be an entrepreneur just like mommy. So I know she
How
sees
wonderful.
And I do bring,
Although it's a rocky road for people, right? It's like,
I
oh,
do.
you're going to be rich, you're going to be poor, you're going to, you know.
So I tell her, I am like, you know, I'm glad that you want to be like mommy and those companies will be yours, but please stay open to what you are gonna be. And it may not be that, and that's okay. And she's, you always want to give your kids the mindset that the world is your oyster and you can just
Right.
grab whatever you think is for you. And I think that she really sees herself. I feel like she sees me as a leader, and I want her to see that like as much as possible. Like I do seminars once a month on the weekends, and one weekend a month. And I would say maybe 3-4 times a year I bring her. So I'll bring her to the actual meeting, and she'll get to pass out the products, and she'll get to sign people in, and she'll get to participate, and she just flourishes. I even got her a little lab coat with her name, and she's just loving it because at that age they're all about role playing, they're all about playing house, playing doctor, playing vet, playing, but she gets to enter this role where she feels like she's helping mommy, and she is. And I think that that's very valuable to kids, is that they feel like they're making a difference. And then that way, when she's not with me and I have to be away for the weekend once a month, she knows what I'm doing. And she knows, okay,
Right.
Mommy's working. And she knows it. She's like, Mommy, how did it go? Was all a product? Did everybody sign in okay? Like
Oh,
she,
wow.
yeah, she knows, which is
That's
great.
great. So she says she wants to be an entrepreneur. What do you think? I mean, uh, I think, don't you think that you're born an entrepreneur? Either you are or you aren't. I don't know.
I definitely think it's personality traits,
Yeah.
certain things that make you able to do it. I have been able to work with, sometimes I think the biggest challenge, and this might be good advice for people. Sometimes you want to believe that because you've been at a company so long that you could do it yourself, or that you can own your own. And I've had this. I've had
Oh, yeah.
incredible practitioners. I've had team members throughout 15 years who have tried to do this, right? They see me and they're like, I can do it. And then
Yep.
one of them, a faculty member, turned around and said to me, Anna, I had no idea. And now I have so much more the respect. And she let it go. She's like, this is not for me. I want to be able to
Yep.
have, I don't want to be tied to I would just want to come in, make my money, because she's brilliant. And she just, it was one of the best compliments I got like a few years back, where she said this to me. And I think that, and this is not the first time, this has happened multiple times where people are like, okay, I tried it. It's not for me.
Oh, sure. I see it all the time.
That's beautiful to be able to know, just like anything else. Like some people are born to, and they feel like they're born to be a mother. Some are like, respectfully, that's not for me. Knowing what's for you and knowing what your capabilities are is such a strong suit, because just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you might not be an incredible leader for a company where you
Right.
get to say goodbye to it.
Be an entrepreneur. I know people who are entrepreneurs
Exactly.
within companies, and obviously you have to be within the right company that will give you
Oh,
that the
allow that.
ability.
Exactly.
But I know people who've created amazing things within organizations because the leadership was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Um, but out on their own are like, no, this
One of
is,
the things that's important for me and in the people that are part of the companies that I work with is, as much as I had to learn how to delegate, I also like to work with many leaders, meaning that I don't want to have to be checking in on your time, on what you're doing. All of the people that work for me are in themselves their own little leaders, and they're doing what they do, and I can trust that they're going to do what they're going to do. And they all have things that I can see clearly. You shine at this, you're weak at this. You shine at this, you're weak at this. Just like I look at myself, I shine at this, I'm weak at this, and this is my constant work on. We all have that. The minute we realize that, and the minute we can bring more people and understand, because sometimes you hire somebody and you hire them, but that's not the right place, but they're
right.
amazing at something else. So having the ability to recognize and bring out the leader in people is another good quality of a leader, is that you can look at them and say, I know you really want to do this, but you shine at this and you can't get this one right. And it may not be for you. We can try it, but like, if it doesn't add up, 1 plus, you have to give yourself because at the end of the day, we're happy when humans are happy when they are able to contribute and when they're successful. And if you're trying to be in a role, like I could never be in any role that requires a heavy amount of math or engineering. And I know my limitations, right? Like my brother, he's a double Cornell graduate. His brain thinks differently. Can he ever run a business? I mean, I would tell him to his face, no, he's not, he doesn't have those personality traits like I do. But can he do things that I can't? Absolutely. He can do formulas and so he runs the operations in a way that I could never even, like, I would look at it like it's all Chinese to me. And so you start to realize that there's a place for everyone. We all come together. And if we can just know our value and also know others' value and not try to be, because it's the worst thing is to try to be something that you shouldn't be or that you aren't, because you just aren't, right? And so the minute we become comfortable with ourselves and we know where we can contribute and where we shine, I think that's where things come together for us.
100, and not look at how someone you see on LinkedIn or Instagram, how they're doing it and going.
That's one thing I never do. I never compare myself. And I always look at other leaders with such they inspire me. I've always been that. I've never looked at any leader and said, oh, I should be there. Never.
Right.
I've always looked at it.
Because you can't. There's no way anybody can be someone else. We all have our weirdness and our good, our craziness.
Absolutely.
Instead of staying in this box, because that's the box that you see they're in, and they're probably not. Just, let your freak flag fly or whatever, and do it the way you do it, not the way it necessarily has always been done, or you're making the assumption it's always been done.
And there's something that you said earlier that I do want to, for people that are listening in on this, I think you brought up a really good point in that most people just see the status of somebody. They see a LinkedIn profile or a social profile. They see the wins. They don't see the struggles. They don't see all the work. They don't see all of that. And I think that, and they don't see the ugly, right? And I think it's important that people not compare themselves, especially when they're looking at somebody from an outer perspective and they're looking at a profile, because that's not reality, right? Like reality is not what we present out there in these like very, social kind of like platforms. It's just not. That isn't the reality. We all go through so much. And it's important that we, because that can lead to a lot of anxiety. It could lead a lot to depression. It could lead to a lot of feeling that you're incapable of getting there because we're only going to show how seamless it is. There's a whole behind the scenes, like I like to say, like how amazing our event was this weekend, and everybody with all their amazing comments and how wonderful and how seamless and what a great leader I am. Did they see the million text groups that the whole team, the back end team had, and how many little fires we had to like take care of that weren't shown to the audience? And that's what makes them great leaders, is that they were able to do the work and maintain and fix things as they happen, because nothing, especially with event planning, comes perfect. You can plan and plan and plan for the most perfect event. Something's always going to happen.
There's always fires. Always.
Something's going to be forgotten. Something's going to be, the QR code went to the wrong thing. I mean, you can name it, it's there. And it's all about how people handle it.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to say? So what do you have next on your list?
I have 2 more courses left for the year. I have New York City coming up end of November, the weekend before Thanksgiving, 23rd and 24th. And then I have my last course of the year in Puerto Rico. So a little more fun. I have 2 courses in one weekend. So I have a level 1 Botox and filler course, and I have a combination therapy course, which is more for advanced people, 1-day course. So, and then the end of the year always happens to be when we do our little company Christmas party, since we're already kind of there. And so it should be fun. We're gonna get like a band and just have fun.
There we go. Oh, that's great. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, we'll share your links and everything for anybody who wants to attend your courses and all the different companies and everything you're doing. But
and one thing, if anybody, one of the things that I've been fortunate with CosMedic real quick is one of the companies that does consulting. We understand how important it is to help other leaders also have the tools they need. And my partner, Megan, and I have now created emotional intelligence and leadership packages and things of that nature. So if anybody here wants to work closely with me or Megan, we're happy to send information on kind of what's helped us, what's helped me. And we have like nice little blueprint things that we've developed that has really helped a lot of leaders. Megan herself has been working with a lot of top executives, not only in her last position at a huge global company, Allergan, but also most recently through CosMedic. She's been working with a lot of top leaders in DSO groups and med spas. I mean, you name it. So if anybody needs that kind of help, we're happy to
just like how to get through.
Yeah, like
okay, that's wonderful.
Like actual coaching. And I know she does like a complimentary session. So if anybody's interested in that, definitely like share my information and
absolutely
we'll get them going. Yeah, we're happy to help.
Wonderful. Well, it was great seeing your beautiful face and thank you for talking to me. And I know this helps. It's so important because female entrepreneurs, it's such a, I mean, not that it's not for men, but we have so many things we have to do and to hear other people, it's just it's just how it goes. You might be crying on the floor one day and then the next day you're like, let's go.
Oh yeah, I know. And so, I'm very open about these things. So that's part of what's wonderful about the program I was just telling you about is that it's really emotional. It really is like, we're giving you like real true content that we can relate to. And so it takes opening up to help others also get to that place. So we're happy to do that. And I look forward to being back on this podcast. I also know I recommended Megan, so I know she's going to be coming and doing one with you as well. So she's
wonderful. That's great. I'd love to. And remember, I just thought of something. My father, who was an entrepreneur, he was a coach too, but he did his things. He always said, never make important decisions at night. Right? I know for me, that's when I'm like, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Well, sometimes some of my best ideas come in the middle of the night and I have to like wake up and actually write.
Oh, do you do that like 3 a.m.? Oh my God, I got to remember this.
It doesn't happen all the time, but like sometimes something like, oh my gosh, light will come off and I'll have to wake up and write it down on my little notepad because
that's good. Yeah.
If not, what was it again?
All right, my dear. Well, I will talk to you soon. It was wonderful seeing you. Go get some rest.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for having me, Shannon. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, Ana is full of knowledge and is incredibly inspiring. If you'd like to follow her, I'll have all of her links below as well as recent stuff that she's done, so there's going to be lots to check out. And also a reminder to follow Vitality Ventures Group to stay up to date with all of our ventures. Thanks again from Vitality Ventures Group. How are you using your power?
We're putting ads in these things. If you are struggling, if you're a small business owner or you want to start up your own business and you don't know where to begin, and it is confusing out there, Vitality Ventures Group works with small business owners all throughout the country. Shoot us an email. What's the email, Maddie?
hello@vitalityventuresgroup.
hello@vitalityventuresgroup.com. We can help answer your questions. Every consultation is free in the beginning, so we can just chat with you. Or if you have a business and you don't know how to grow to the next level, we can work on that with you as well. So vitalityventuresgroup.com. hello@vitalityventuresgroup, and we'll talk to you soon.
Follow us on Instagram.
Oh, Maddie says follow us on Instagram at Vitality Ventures Group.
I'm Maddie. I am the one behind everything with the video, the sound, the photos, production, uploading. Is there anything else?
Maddie is our producer, our media producer.
I do everything on the back end, so it's kind of cool to have an opportunity now to be up front. But Let's see, you can follow me on Instagram, Vitality Lens, and then also you can find me on LinkedIn, Maddie Riley.